AI content is everywhere. You know it, you see it, you read it on your LinkedIn, you see it on your Instagram. AI slop is not going anywhere. So what do we do about it? How do you identify the AI garbage that's being sent to you in email and text message everywhere? Well, the way you do that is you identify the content that the thing is making. So I downloaded a bunch of different local models. I ran 10,000 pieces of actual prompt content through them, and I came up with the patterns that all of these things create. So you're not crazy. All of this stuff, it's just everywhere. So let's run it down. These are the top 6 patterns of AI generated content, brought to you by Sean David. Automate to win. Let's go. So top 6 patterns of AI content. We ran through 10,000 pieces of content to understand the pattern of this generated content, so you didn't have to. All right. What we understood, most of it's garbage. None of this stuff is actually publishable, but people are hitting copy paste. It's everywhere. The AI slop is here. Ain't nothing to do but actually look at all of the stuff that's out there, determine how we can identify it and not publish slop ourselves, right? I'm Sean. This is Automate to Win. Welcome to the channel. If it's your first time being here, let's run through this real quick. And what are we looking at, right? So the first thing that we have to kind of understand is, like, how does this stuff work? How does a sentence transformer work? How does an LLM work, right? It's basically an autocomplete on steroids, right? So if you imagine an LLM being able to predict the next word in whatever it is that you're trying to say. So if you say a peanut butter and blank sandwich, the AI has just seen a million different instances of the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So it creates something and fills in that blank as like an autocomplete, right? So just the way that your phone can guess what you were trying to say based upon about 5 or 6 letters that you put in, it's got all of the language that you would ever need. The LLM can do that with, like, say, 10 words behind it, 10 words ahead. So at all times it knows the last 10 words it said and the next 10 words that it should say based upon the word that it's on. So if you keep that in the context, you can understand how this thing loses the thread. There isn't an actual thought going on to continue. What's happening is the AI is just putting the tracks on the train as it's moving forward, and it doesn't have a destination. It doesn't have a beginning point because it only ever is concerned with the track that it's on. So once you look at this and you identify what the patterns are, you'll see it everywhere. Like these 6 patterns, these are the ones that I found and I can prove through math, but I'm sure, let me know in the comments how many people have identified different patterns and different words that are just clear as day. Hey, you're using AI, right? In your own vertical and in your own experience, you're going to have something that says, yeah, man, I see this every day, and bam, this is AI. So let's run through, right? What are the patterns? Like TLDR, it's real simple. Number 1 is simple sentence structure. So these things have 15 to 25 words. They just repeat them, and they do not want to get complicated. They want to keep them as that simple as possible. Number 2, overused words, phrases, that type of thing. Delve into in the world of, like, M dashes. Right now you have all of this content talking about M dashes and all these people getting all upset about, well, I use M dashes in my AI. Man, don't worry about any of that. I don't use M dashes. I'm a programmer. I'm sure if you're watching this video, you may not even know what an M dash is. Don't worry about it. Writers are getting all butthurt about this because their particular sense of grammar is being basically stolen by the AI, right? Overused words that we just don't even use anymore, that type of thing. AI doesn't personalize, right? The AI doesn't have a personality, so they're not going to have a certain type of way of speaking. If you've ever listened to me speak, you're going to hear me use the same type of things. I say step 0 definitions a lot. I speak in metaphors and analogies. I talk about Star Wars and my cats and all the things I'm doing in my life. Like, just the way I speak and the tone and the way my head moves and all about this. This is just me. Like, you can't explain what it is, but if you're familiar with me, you know me, then you know that there's a certain way that I communicate. If all of a sudden I change and I start communicating differently, I start using words that I never used before and definitionally cared about grammar when I never did before, then there's something up, right? And that's just clear as day pattern. Number 4 is the one we're going to take a little time to go into, but it's just the explainer loop. It's this thing saying, like, I need to be helpful, so I'm going to define helpful, and then I have assigned myself to being helpful, so I exist to be helpful, even though it doesn't help anything, because it's stuck on the logic loop of help. And then number 5 is there's no transitions, no throughput, there's no story, there's no actual continued thought about this whole thing. It just is systematically okay, grammatically it may make sense, but if you go back and you read it and you tried to bullet point this out, it just is just a word salad. It doesn't really make any sense. And then the last one, which is actually probably the most important and the one that everyone really picks up on, is just a lack of specifics. Like, if there's a data source, you can't find it. If there's like a percentage, it's some random percentage where it's like 4 out of 5 dentists prefer this type thing, where it's like, okay, what does that even mean? But it just throws out numbers, right? It doesn't really even make any sense, but that's what it does. So these are the 6 patterns. You look through this, you can understand what it is. Last week tonight, John Oliver actually just did a whole thing on YouTube. Check it out. I'll put the link in the comment. You can actually read through this, where it's just him going through a lot better than I can about identifying video and audio and everything that is AI slop, deep fakes, all this stuff. Now, this is specifically about text generated, because I think that's the most prevalent. That's what's actually happening in the world the most. Right now, every email, every text message that you get from an unknown source may have AI in it. Even if you don't know that, there's some sort of algorithm running this. If it's meant to convert you, it's probably going to be run through a model, right? So we got to really look at that from this type of standpoint, that it's here and it's not like something you have to prepare for. It's something that you have to deal with. So, is what it is. Why'd I do this? Because I need you to know. I need you to understand. You need to understand, like, how prevalent this stuff is, where it's at, and then how to spot it. And then and if you're using it and you think other people can't spot this, you're wrong. Even if I can't spot it, your friends can. Like, if you're copy pasting AI content, that means that you're inherently lazy and you didn't do the work to humanize it in the first place. So, you're just caught out. Like, everyone knows. They may not even tell you because they don't care, but if you're going to GPT or any of these custom prompt things and you're posting, like, come on, everyone knows. Everyone knows. It's just, like, what are you doing? You're wasting everyone's time. Like, you're literally creating AI slop. It's just stop it. So content 1, what is this? Suspect, sentence, structure. The LLMs are deterministic probability engines, right? What does that mean? It's just, like I said, they're autocomplete times 100. So they're just looking to create something that is probabilistically accepted as okay. It's like they don't really concern themselves with the way that we actually consume communicated text. It's just, this is the data that I have, and this is the way that I think I should post, and from there, that's what we get, right? So the first one, when you look at it, it's just really simple, right? You can say, hey, I wrote this, and you don't necessarily need to understand why, but it's because the AI is writing for the median, and it wants you to understand, and it wants you to accept. It doesn't necessarily want to be correct because it doesn't understand what correct means. But it does things like use rule of threes and triplets. And it does this rhythm pattern that you kind of have to look into sociology and communication and anthropology to understand why language creates a rhythm and why certain people just can, like, encapsulate you and you don't know why. It's just they speak in a certain way and they have a certain tone. Like Barack Obama, for instance, he just has a very specific intentional rhythm and tone to his speak that makes you listen, and it's intentional. He's doing it on purpose. Like, his mannerisms, the words he chooses, the inflection times, the pauses, the rhythm of the words, the music that he's creating is intentional. It's great. Study this man. But the AI doesn't have that. It tries to replicate something like that, but it's like spoken word and written word are different communication layers. We consume them differently, so it doesn't really work in the way that it wants to, and it's just cleanly understandable. It's like, oh, yeah, this isn't really saying anything. It's not really connecting to anything. It doesn't really move anything forward, and the sentence structure is built in such a way so when I read it out loud in my head, it creates like this drum beat, this pattern, this if then this, rules of threes and triplets. You'll just identify it so quickly. Like, it'll present the problem, identify the problem, and then present either a redefinition of the problem or a quick solution that doesn't really make any sense. And that's going to be on number 4. But for number 1, you just look at the sentence structure. Is it broken up? Does it try to like grab you in any sort of way and move you to the next sentence? Does it have punctuation that makes you stop and think, or is it only made to flow to the next thing without ever making you think or process whatever it is that you just read? Like, it's just the least median accepted answer, and you move on and you say, oh, okay, yeah, this made sense, I guess, but you could never quote it or remember it, right? It's the advertising copy of created information. It doesn't really exist, but maybe it'll bounce around in your head because for whatever reason, right? It's super easy to identify that pattern. It's just the suspect sentence structure, right? So if you look at this, right, artificial intelligence is transforming industries by streamlining workflows, increasing efficiency, and providing innovative solutions to modern business challenges. Triplet, right? It's introducing the problem, transforming industries by streamlining workflows. So you're saying I'm streamlining a workflow by transforming an industry, and I'm doing that with a redefinition of increasing efficiency. Transforming industries through streamlining workflows is defined with increasing efficiency, and then a redefinition of the original thing, which is artificial intelligence, providing innovative solutions to modern businesses. So it's helpful because it's helpful, and I'm helpful because I exist. It's this circular logic of a pattern that's based just straight sentence structure. That triplet is just immediate, right? But you can use the same type of thing when you're writing. Like, a human would say, AI isn't magic, it's math. So you introduce the concept, and then you kind of remove the barrier to saying that, hey, this is hard to understand, you wouldn't want this isn't for you, move on. You say, nah, it's hard. It's not hard. Just here you go. Within a couple minutes, you'll be able to understand it, right? So you run through here all these patterns, like artificial intelligence enables organizations to enhance operational efficiency. 1, reduce cost. 2, and drive innovation through automated systems and predictive analysis, right? What is that saying? Nothing. AI enables organizations to enhance operational efficiency, reduce costs, and drive innovation. How? Through what? Okay, through automated systems and predictive analytics. That is artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is defined through predictive analytics of automated systems. It's self-defining itself. It's looking and saying, I am artificial intelligence. I enable organizations to enhance operational efficiency, and I exist because of this definition. It's a triplet. In reality, you could just say most teams don't need AI. They need to start doing they need to stop doing the same task 10 times a week. I mean, 1 communicates to a human solving a problem. Like, you need to stop doing busy work. You need to just use AI or automation or whatever it is, words that the nerds want to use to help me. I don't want to use my email as a catch-all anymore. I don't want to, whatever. I don't want to do documentation of my software. Blah, 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 blah. Whatever the individual problem is, that's what you're talking to. That's what you're solving. This isn't like a copywriting exercise, but speak to the human that's reading it. The AI is never going to be able to do that. The rhythm pattern of sentence structure is immediate. You don't need any of the other patterns. If you just max this one, I'm just giving you 5 other ones, so that way you can really look at the receipts to determine these are like the matrix. But just the sentence structure alone is going to be able to say, oh, this is AI all day. Just triplets. Just look for triplets. Second pattern, overuse of certain words, phrases, and sentences. What does this mean? Everyone knows. I don't need to go into detail, but let's go into the weeds here, right? You know when someone is using AI and you've talked to them before ever. If you've spoken to this human before, and then now they're speaking differently. It's just, did you go to school overnight? Did you go and get a master's in literature? Since we've been texting, Like you read this person's blog or you watch their videos or whatever it is, and all of a sudden they start reading things and they start using words. You're like, what? Like unveiled. Like, come on, man. Nobody uses veils. Like, not even in regular life. What do you have a veil for? Like, it's not even like what a veil is like when you get married now. Like maybe back in the day, unveiling was common. Sure, the content that this thing was trained on uses that type of language because there's a bunch of legal stuff and it's just a bunch of whatever, right? It's free use and fair use and like legal doctrines, and the post will tell you all about it, like if you want to read all about it. But basically it's like if it's before 1929 you can use it, no problem, all good. If it's like between 1930 and 1988 there's like some kind of weird rules, and if it's after 1964 but if it's before 28 years before the moon passed Saturn or whatever, there's some rules. So for them to say we use things that are only regular things to use, like the open source, ready to go, they can't ever say we use things from this time when humans are now communicating. And even if they did, they're only using that for tone. So like imagine a tier rating, and you can imagine the LLM is going to take S tier at like archive.org, Gutenberg, Congress, OpenCrawl, all the stuff that is free to use, and it's like this is for the betterment of humanity, all right? And then you have A tier, which is like Wikipedia, PhD dissertations, government reports, news articles, verifiable sources that the AI can then track down and use in its corpus. And then you have like B tier, which is like blog posts, Medium articles, product reviews, Stack Overflow, all this stuff. That's going to be for specific niche things and tone. And that's going to understand, okay, this is how humans communicate in a specific way. And then you have like C and D tier. C tier is going to be like Reddit and Twitter and all the things that's like, okay, this is the emotional connection. This is the sentiment analysis. This is how like humans communicate with their emotions, but it doesn't really help the LLM to create the statistical probability of what should go next. It'll only change the tone. So imagine that you're trained on a corpus of data that's from whatever, 1920. And you start to understand the words that it uses when it starts saying we're going to delve into stuff and we're going to in the magical world. It's because that's how people speak back then also, and that's what's trained on, and also that's what they can legally say they used. So sure, it's trained on Reddit, and if you ask it a question right now on Reddit, it can use a subset, but its actual corpus of data, like this thing is like its school, for lack of a better term, is S tier stuff. And you got to remember what S tier stuff is. It's dry. It doesn't have personal anecdotes. It doesn't have any of the stuff that you would imagine a human would write with. It's not meant for humans. It's meant for like future consumption by other people that don't care about what you were thinking when you did it. But everyone that would come afterwards wouldn't even understand the math or the science behind a lot of this stuff. So they're just like, all right, I'm never even interacting with it. But now they have this chatbot, which has like consumed literally the entire Library of Congress. So they can say, create me a meme, and it will come back with a dissertation. So you got to remember where this thing was trained to be able to spot the data, especially just in comparison. Like always compare. You used to write this way, now you write this way. Like that's the pattern that you really need. These types of words like you can really like jump into. But like think about it, like utilize, facilitate, leverage, implement, optimize, comprehensive, robust, seamless, innovative, cutting edge, delve into, in the X of Y world, the M dash, peering, unveiling, harnessing, exploring, enable, drive, disrupt, synergy, solution, ecosystem, stakeholders, empower, pivot, deploy, iterate. These words are the lowest common denominator of all words that are used across the training data. So sure, they're going to show up. Sure, they're going to have a positive representation of this is the highest statistical likelihood of what I should say because this is what it's trained on. But normal humans just don't speak this way. Like leet speak, and if this thing was trained on legalese, then it would only respond in that way. But it's not. It's trained on a corpus of literature of people that consider themselves writers and they self-identify as communicators. So it has these types of like motivator words and conversion words and all of these descriptors and really good ways of communicating. But the thing is, the people that are now using it don't understand why these words work. They just know that the words are there. So they just randomly have 7 M dashes in a paragraph when they've never even understood what an M dash was until 10 days ago, when all of a sudden they downloaded a LinkedIn tool. You know what I mean? So the real key, the real pattern to identify for pattern 2 isn't necessarily off rip when you just start meeting someone and you start consuming their content. If you start getting the willies and the 3 or 4 of these are popping, go look at their old content. If they're somebody that's like prevalent in content creation, look at something from 2 years ago, see their tone, and see if there's a natural evolution into where they're at, or is there a clear day where like one day they just started talking in a certain type of way, and either they were lying the entire time beforehand, which is whatever, or they just used a tool now that gives them tools like access to better grammar and better writing, but they don't even understand what that means. They just get the output, so you get that uncanny valley. Right, so these words, they're just there. You can determine what they are just by your own niche. Like, I think these are clear across all of it, but like you're gonna have your own niche, your own bubble where words are used where you're just like, yeah, we don't even use that word anymore. But you've been around for long enough that you're like, oh, okay, I got it. Yeah, I see. This was 1997 or whatever. We used to use that and now we don't. You know what I mean? It's an old code, sir, but it checks out. It doesn't work here. Because humans are like, we don't even say that anymore. Like, slang from old school. Like, if somebody was like, oh, we're going to go planking. What does that mean anymore? It used to mean something, right? Now it doesn't. Same thing here. Number 3, no PII. And this one is really critical when it comes to GPT, Gemini, and Claude, because those will probably break a lot of the other patterns out, and people can kind of work around that. But if they use some kind of stat, it's going to be generic and it's not going to be provable, and there's going to be no receipts. There's going to be nothing where you can say, oh, this is definitively where I got this stat from. Here is the math. That's critical to understand. It's super easy. Like, don't even worry about understanding why. Read the post if you want, links in the comments. But it's like, they just won't, because the data that they're trained on is stripped of PII. Because think about that. Like, imagine you posted something on your personal blog, right? And it was like a percentage of whatever you did, whatever. Something that could literally identify you as you. And then that got trained into GPT, and then someone went to search that. And then word for word, it replaced and replicated what you said as they said. And now it's using your personal identifiable story as something that only could be proved by you, and prove that you said this first in like generated content. Immediately there would be a massive lawsuit in the US, forget the EU. So all that PII stuff has to be like either anonymized or just sent generically. So it says, all right, 75% of all dentists recommend this toothpaste, but if you look at the study of that, there's not actually any receipts behind it. It's just something that means they saw 5,000 studies, and in that the percentage of things that said people accepted it was 75%. So statistically, in this creation of this content, of this sentence, it makes sense for me to use 75%. Or maybe I'll hallucinate 78% or 62% as something as a median, because this is like, we don't really understand why that works, but sometimes they do that. But anytime they use that, you're not going to see, based upon this study, here's the math. It's just going to say 75%, 4 out of 5, 3 out of 6, whatever it is, but it won't give you specifics. And also, there's no personal identifying information. You're not going to get me like having a cat in my video because I have 11 cats. You're not going to, you know what I mean? Like, you're just going to get the base level percentage of stuff that seems like it makes sense, but if you take one look at it, it just falls apart immediately. So pattern 3 really just comes down to all you need to understand about it. You're not going to be able to identify what human wrote this content, because you won't be able to like identify where it came from. It's the most like undeniably robotic feeling thing. And some people write like that anyways. And again, the delta is the key. Go and compare stuff to where they used to write to now. If they used to write in like second person weird and they still do, cool, no problem. Not using AI, just our AI type shit, you know. So what do you want to do when you're doing this, when you're creating content, right? When you're creating social media, make sure it's PII. Make sure you talk about your wife, your girlfriend, your cats, your dogs, because they can't train that. It's you. When you're giving business advice, make sure that they understand that you have a personal failure behind this, or you have something that actually helps you. Something like that. You know what I mean? Like, leave the warts in, because this is what identifies you as a human. You know what I mean? Whatever is going through, it says, okay, this person is actually communicating with me. I'm consuming this video or reading this content, doing whatever, and there's another human on the other side of this, and they took the time to like put themselves out there. That's the only thing that you're going to be able to actually humanize any of this content. It's not easy to do, and it can't be replicated, and that's the whole goal of this, is using AI to create content and then humanize it. Like, add the human touch, so it's like you're 10x faster, but you're not creating AI slop. So the fourth pattern is the one where it's like, I've been using it this entire time, trying to explain it. It's this over-explaining logic loop where it's like, it defines itself, and then it redefines itself, and then it references the first definition as the third answer to the thing. So I'm helpful assistants are useful, I'm useful because I'm helpful. But you're like, all right, cool, but you didn't actually help anybody. You didn't do anything. You've just defined yourself as helpful and then told me that you're helpful, and then you were like, I'm useful. So it's like those answers on Stack Overflow where it just tells you about theory and doesn't give you code, but then congratulates themselves on explaining theory to you, but you can't even do anything because that theory isn't in executable code. That may be too niche, but it's like somebody telling you to just do pull-ups to get stronger. It's like, all right, cool. You know, or these people that give you diet advice that's like, yo, eat less, then you burn. You know what I mean? Okay, cool. They define themselves as helpful. They give you just definitional things, and then they're like, oh, I was helpful because of this. Like, it's this logic loop. And again, it's in triplets. Like, you really got to think about how humans communicate. Rules of three is there. It's a rule because of what we want, right? Like, yeah, sure. We want rules of three because that's how humans are. Show them what you're going to show them, and then tell them what you show them. Sure, great, fine. But when you do it without the intention of the human actually understanding, and you're just doing it because rules of three work, there's an uncanny valley there, and it's like manipulative and pedantic and stupid, and it doesn't even work anymore because all you're doing is the output. You're not actually doing rules of three, you're just doing three things. So the pattern is super easy to understand. Once you see these triplets, you'll see it in all AI content. I mean, you'll see it in all content that's supposed to like convert you in triplets, but that's just what it is. That's why this thing works so well, because it's trained on the content meant to convert you, right? So like, break it down, right? Triple redundancy. Helping someone is useful because it's useful. AI is optimizing for comprehension by repetition. Circular definitions. Define helpful, then use helpful, then it loops back. It's no forward motion. It doesn't actually move anything forward. It just sits there and defines itself over and over, and you don't actually get any help. And by the time you're done reading it, you don't even remember what you wrote. It's just in a continuous loop of self-referential. And it's infuriating and tiring because you're just like, just give me the thing. Why are you dancing around this? It's because it doesn't know, and it can't actually understand the context of what you're asking, only the statistical probability that it could predict the answer you want. So once you understand this pattern, you're like, oh, okay, cool, I get it. This is a triplet. This is actually self-referencing, explaining itself. It's a logic loop. This is dumb. This is AI. I'm out. Unsubscribe. Fifth one. It's addicted to transition words because it doesn't understand a throughput. You understand what that means? The words don't make sense or complete a thought. It's only worried, do these words fit together with the highest probability that the human is going to accept it? That's it. It's not like I had a thought and I want you to understand. It's not like I created this and there's a list of 6 things and I need you to go through with me, and we have this emotional journey and I have an idea of what I'm going through, and it may seem like I'm going off script because I want you to understand there's a human behind this, but this is really clearly thought out. This is really understanding what I'm talking about to the way where we can just have a conversation, and I record the conversation the same way I would be explaining this to you if we were sitting across from each other. Beauty of YouTube is I can do this and just get this out into the world. But this would be no different if you and I were just sitting around having a cup of coffee and you asked me about local AI stuff and the difference between creating content with AI and creating content for humans with AI. I would just go into it. I just happen to be able to use YouTube as a way to get this out into the world. Dope, right? So that's what I do. Again, it's a statistical probability of what word should come next. It doesn't understand what it wants to say. It doesn't say anything. Like, it doesn't have any emotional hit, any journey. It doesn't connect with you. It's not anyone that's gonna understand why you've looked at what you're looking. It's just a statistical model that gives words out. So if you look at this and you anthropomorphize it and you say, well, this is something there because I connect to these words, well, that's a you problem. At the end of the day, it's assigning emotional connection to a calculator. It's just not there. And that's why all these patterns are there. Like from 1 to 5, this is all based on human stuff that this thing can't replicate. That je ne sais quoi that exists that you just can't really touch upon. But you can identify specifically with the delta, with the change in someone. With, I used to know you and now this is different. It'd be like, it's just there's a time and a place where all of a sudden they start communicating differently and you're like, oh, okay, well, something is weird here. Well, these are the patterns to look for. This is the pattern to look for. If this is the type of person that changes and you're like, yeah, we're using AI, and they're like, nah. Well, they're lying to you if these patterns show up. And specifically if they weren't there before and now they are, well, there you go. Gotcha. You know what I mean? So number 6, stack salad. Like, what does this mean? Like, again, they don't give specifics. They'll just give whatever they saw coming before it in the training data. So if they're talking statistically about dentists, or if they're talking about lawyers, or if they're talking about any sort of thing, if it was trained on, in this data, this percentage shows up in this way, and you query this thing to be this way, well, then that's what happens. It says, okay, well, I am going to be able to replicate this in a statistical way, so that way you can fully understand what I'm saying. And it probably will do it in a triplet. If 78% growth is most likely to come after the word new strategy, it says this new strategy gave us 78% growth with some filler words and maybe a transition. That doesn't mean that there actually was a 78% growth with this new strategy. It just means that it was statistically likely that 78% growth comes after new strategy. So if you start attributing and assigning fact to these like numbers, then you're trapped, because there isn't any receipts to this. It's like the most common median of what statistic would be used based upon the thing that it was trained on, not actual data. Citations work the same way, folks. So anyone that's trying to tell you AI and SEO are the same thing, that's a whole other video. It'd be, around there somewhere. You can click on that and hear my rant about that. But in this pattern of AI about content, it's just not there, right? So running through, the patterns, right? Let's run to the top. What are they? Sentence structure, overused words, zero personalization, that logic explainer loop, the addiction to transition words without actually throughput, and a lack of specifics. So if you can look at that and you understand what this is, you're golden. You don't need to worry about looking at industry specifics. You can skip the video and go watch some other ones now, or go play video games, or go outside, whatever you want to do. But if you really want to know how does this work in the specifics, that's fine. Let's go. We're going to type this real quick. It just is, it's trained on what these things are, but it's trained on what these things are by human labels. So when somebody goes in, it says, here is 50,000 LinkedIn posts. It then goes and says, all right, I know what a LinkedIn post is. But think about that. What is a LinkedIn post? Depending upon who you are, it's completely different. So you get the median of what a LinkedIn post. Extrapolate that out all the way down, no matter what it is, B2C, B2B, ad copy, emails. Depending upon who trained this and the level of detail that they went when they trained it, is going to depend upon the output. So if they just say these 100,000 emails that we scraped somewhere from some blog or whatever, wherever they got it, this is the ad copy that works, well, okay, that's now ad copy. And when you ask for something, that's why you start getting these patterns, because it doesn't deviate from that. It goes and gets what it knows. It looks for its actual statistical grouping of embeddings, nerd stuff. It just goes and looks at what is a LinkedIn post, right? What is a blog post? What is a Reddit rant? What are these things? Do I know what these are? And what's the similarity to what this is supposed to be? From there, it creates that based upon the statistical probability. So if you ask for a Reddit rant in a positive way, it's not going to work because it doesn't know what that means. It can't replicate that because it's not trained on that. There is no such thing as a positive Reddit rant. So if you're looking for specifics within your business, it's super simple. Look at the way people used to speak. Look at the way they used to speak like currently, and then look at the way that they speak 5 years ago. So go back in time and look at the way ad copy was written in 1929. Look at the way ad copy was written in 2009 to 2022, and look at the way ad copy specifically is written right now. You yourself will get the delta. Look at the delta, the change. Look at the way things were before AI and after. Don't need somebody like me to tell you what the difference is in your niche, in your bubble. Use the tools in front of you to be able to determine that. Use Google Advanced Search to search for M-dashes and blogs that you like and love. You can determine how often these people use these types of things. If all of a sudden it's a 300% increase in proper grammar, either they went and got a master's in grammar or they're using an AI. It's that simple, right? Future-proof, simple. Don't use AI copy-paste. It's that easy. Like, there's no outro here, guys. 1 through 6, real simple. If you identify one of these patterns, don't just jump on it and say, hey, this guy's using AI. It's not about that. It's identifying a pattern, saying, hey, like, you're using something that I can definitely see as other people has used for AI, and then go look for the other 5. And if you find all 6 on somebody's content, get out of there. And if you find like 2 or 3 in somebody that you like trust and as friends, then you need to have a conversation, because they're gonna get burned if they're trying to be like public with this content. It's not gonna last long. And tools like the ones that I've built to be able to identify content using simple patterns, they're there, they exist, right? So guys, if you are using AI content, and I know you are, because I am, everyone is, just humanize it. Don't just copy paste this garbage. Don't wind up on John Oliver or on one of my tools or Grammarly or something like that. You know what I mean? If you like this type of content, if you want to hear more about this type of thing, join, subscribe, like button, do all the things that you need to do. I'm going to be here breaking this stuff down. I'm going to show you how this AI works, how local models work. If you're interested in anything AI, I've been doing this for 20 years. I'm the guy that's going to break this down to a way that's real. All right. So if you like AI, hit the like button, subscribe, share this with somebody, do what you can do. Help me out. It really helped. Thanks. We'll see you in the next one. I'm Sean. Automate to win. Local AI. Let's go.